For over 70 years, Israel and Palestine have been locked in conflict over borders and land. There are many who might ask me who I find at fault for this conflict existing in the first place. My stance on that is irrelevant to this video, but just for clarity, I blame the British for this.
The British are coming! The British are... Oh! Ouch, people!
What I'm here to talk about is different, however. On October 6th, 11:30 p.m. Eastern, already October 7th in Israel, unprecedented events unfolded.
Dramatic developments happening in Israel. The militant group Hamas firing thousands of rockets into the country, smoke and flames seen rising from multiple sites that were hit.
A surprise attack by the Palestinian militant group Hamas.
Hamas militants from the Gaza Strip began shooting thousands of rockets at Israel and also infiltrating with their militants across the fence into Israeli communities, taking people hostage.
This attack was unique in several ways. For one, it caught Israel completely off guard.
Of a massive surprise attack by Palestinian militants in Gaza.
It was coordinated over multiple simultaneous methods, from air, sea,
התקפות בלייב. התקפות בלייב, קבלו. Why?
and land. As of putting this together, over 3,000 rockets were launched against Israel, overwhelming the Iron Dome. Over 2,500 Palestinian militants broke through the Israel-Gaza border. What ensued was absolute terror and destruction of life. This attack has resulted in over 1,400 deaths and 4,121 injured. On top of that, there are at least over 200 hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza right now. On October 7th, social media was flooded with videos as the attacks happened.
והודיע לי שיש סרטון שאין אופנוע וחטופה ומופלת לעזה. היו לי תקוות שהוא טעה, שזה לא נכון, שאולי. ואז בחדר המיון ניגש אליי בחור ואמר לי שיש פה סרטון אם אתה רוצה לראות אותה. כן, ביקשתי לראות, ואז בוודאות ראיתי שזה נורא. היא הייתה כל כך נפחדת, כל כך מבוהלת. תמיד גוננתי עליה, ודווקא ברגע הזה לא יכולתי.
סבתא שלי על הרצפה בבית שלה, רצוחה בסרטון. כל הרצפה דם. סבתא שלי שוכבת שם. המחבל פשוט לקח את הנייד הפרטי שלה, צילם אותה והעלה את זה לקיר פייסבוק הפרטי שלה. ככה התבשרנו.
אספנו כל הלילה גופות במצב מאוד קשה. חלק מהגופות היו ירויות, חלק מהגופות היו שרופות. ועכשיו אנחנו משתמשים במסעית ועוד מסעית. הכמות פה זה משהו שלא נתפס בשכל האנושי, והנפש לא יכולה להכיל את זה. והזוועות שאנחנו רואים פה, הצורה שרצחו את האנשים.
Anyone who woke up on October 7th and checked social media and saw what I saw was probably horrified at the footage.
It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? Who are your parents? I'm gonna call Child Protective Services. It's time to stop!
Okay, So the expectation that people would react normally to this has gone out the window. I've honestly been disappointed in the amount of left-wingers and progressives I saw immediately afterwards celebrating the atrocities that happened to the Israeli people. Some of them have gone on to double down over the past few weeks, doing mental gymnastics to justify the violence, and even making far-right talking points. It's fine to be critical of Israel. There's plenty to criticize. And it's a noble thing to stand up for people whose rights have been deteriorated and lives have been made hard by larger bodies. But there are ways to do that without being a piece of shit. So let's get into it. Let's look at people. Mask off.
What did y'all think decolonization meant? Vibes, papers, essays, losers. Not like this, then like what? Show us LOL.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize decolonization included the rape and torture of civilians and children, but okay.
Israel-Palestine isn't a complex conflict.
Yes it is.
Was Vietnam complex?
Yes.
Was independence of African states complex?
Yes.
Palestine is a colonized nation.
It doesn't really fit cleanly into that category.
Freedom means full decolonization. Full stop.
Reminder, this was tweeted October 8th. This will be a recurring theme.
Free Palestine, discovering that decolonization is an inherently violent process as a proportional response to a lifetime of military occupation and apartheid. No, not like that.
I mean, is decolonization an inherently violent process? I wonder if there's ever been any successful movements that weren't violent.
Colon cleanse is aisle G. It's right behind you.
This conflict doesn't fit cleanly into the colonizer-colonized narrative. People online claim that somehow the violence perpetrated by Hamas on innocent civilians is justified or needed because the Palestinian people are claiming what belongs to them back. While Israel certainly has done wrong in this conflict, this narrative isn't quite true. The idea that Israelis have no ties to the country is simply untrue. There has long been a small but significant Jewish population within the Palestinian territory. But even if they came from elsewhere, immigrants and refugees have the same rights to build a home given they own the land justly. What kind of precedent does this set otherwise? Imagine if, in America, we decided that people who were immigrants and children of immigrants who bought up land suddenly weren't allowed the right to live here. Does this mean that white people who have generations of family in America deserve to call it a home more than immigrants and children of immigrants? Also, do we not realize that Muslims have been some of the biggest colonizers themselves throughout history? And we have to talk about the map. You know which map I'm referring to.
Is this what you call sharing?
I mean, what does this map even signify? What does it stand for? The answer? Not Palestinian land ownership, but Jewish land ownership. The map is incorrect. This map, changing colors, has been used to demonstrate that outsiders are coming in and changing the demographics and land ownership of a country. Did we suddenly forget that demographic change is a right-wing, anti-immigrant talking point? Remember the Great Replacement Theory or white genocide theory? Palestinians didn't deserve to be forced out, but neither do Israelis. One of the sickest things I've seen recently is not only the celebration of death and torture on October 7th, but the continued support of Hamas and the justification of the massacre, and virtually no support of the victims.
I do not now, nor will I ever, condemn Hamas. I unequivocally support the liberation movements of all oppressed people around the world by any means made necessary.
Can someone please tell the freedom fighters in Palestine to flip their phones and film horizontal?
Former porn actress supports extremist fundamentalist Islamic terror group. You know what they do to you, right? Let's not forget again that this was October 7th, the day of. Even Frogan weighed in October 7th, which led to her and Ethan having a falling out.
She said, leftists preach and foam at the mouth at the thought of a revolution happening in America. As soon as it happens in the Middle East, what they're doing is wrong. Now, this, to me, I'm interpreting this as, let me read what I wrote. I don't want to say anything out of pocket, but I don't fucking like that. People are talking about me unfollowing Frogan, so I'll explain why, since she wants to talk about murdering children and burning families alive in their safe houses is not a revolution, it's a massacre. And if you think that's what revolution is supposed to look like, I'm terrified for your idea of an American revolution. Okay? She goes, but as soon as it happens in the Middle East, what they're doing is wrong. She's implying that what Hamas is doing is right. I mean, she's basically all but saying it. She's saying, as soon as a revolution happens in the Middle East, then all of a sudden what they're doing is wrong.
The thing is, chat, the day I went live, I talked about it. I was like, you know, I don't want violence on any side. Like, I don't think rape, I don't think murder is, like, of civilians it shouldn't be a thing. I've said that. Like, I spoke against it. I don't understand why I have to, like, fucking end every fucking tweet of me talking about what's going on in Palestine. Oh, I don't support Hamas. I don't do this.
The reason you have to say that is because you tweeted this on October 7th, the day of the massacre. You quite literally called what Hamas did a revolution. Israel hadn't responded in Gaza yet. Israel hadn't even finished counting the bodies. She goes on to respond to Ethan, but her response ends up proving his point about her.
But what I am interpreting is that you don't care about Israeli suffering. You just want to talk about Palestinian suffering. Your first post here in the past week is to call what? Your first post here in the past week is to call me out for supporting Palestinians fighting back. Again, she's supporting Hamas. Hamas murdered. She's actually proving my point even more explicitly. That's crazy. Palestinians fighting back. First of all, what a disservice you're doing to Palestinians. Palestinians are not fucking Hamas. I would venture to guess the vast majority of them are peace-loving people that just want to live in safety and don't want to live in fear. But no, you're saying Palestinians are fighting back Hamas, militant, extremist terrorist organizations on the part of ISIS. It's just Palestinians fighting back. Okay. What is revolution to you if not overthrowing the prison guards that keep 2 million people from leaving? What prison guards were killed? The families? Were the kids that were killed prison guards? Are you sure about this statement, Frogan? Which prison guards did they murder? The kids? The elderly? The family that was burned alive? The women that were raped? The murdered that were shot point blank with an AK-47? Are those the prison guards that you're talking about? That's the revolution. Okay, well, let me know what you're planning for the revolution here, because I do not want to I want to make sure that I'm standing against that.
Those weren't the only bad tweets from Frogan.
There's no perfect retaliation to apartheid, only victims everywhere. One party holds all the power to end the violence, however, and it's certainly not the Palestinians living under a colonial apartheid regime that has chained them in an open-air prison it bombs routinely.
October 7th, once again. Honestly, Hasan is a goldmine. I mean, take a look at this.
How much do you believe the human shield stuff? No, of course I don't believe the human shield stuff. What do you mean? I've told... no, that's ridiculous. There is no... Even if I were to believe that they are, like, purposely fucking putting humans in front of rockets, okay? It's ridiculous to actually shoot through the hostage.
What the fuck? What?
Point of those posters in and of itself is not to be like, look at all these children that are lost. The point of these posters, the real point of these posters is so that someone goes and fucking tries to rip it off so they can fucking film it and go, look at these scary Arabs. They hate it. They have no interest in Israeli lives.
Yeah, Hasan, the entire point of putting up the posters is so we can film scary people tearing them down. How about people just don't tear them down?
Hasan's Discord, and what I saw in that Discord was universal near universal praise for Hamas, near universal saying people deserved it, people near universally calling me a Zionist pig, fucking mass murdering genocidal freak. And if you want to know the truth, that shit fucked me up seeing that Discord, because it made me realize that a lot of these people are watching this show, and it frankly disturbed me.
Remember that Ethan and Gila, they have family in Israel, so they have a right to be disturbed.
You have no arguments. That's why. You have one fucking ripcord that you can pull, which is anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism. You're doing anti-Semitism. Suck my dick. I'm facing so much racism right now as an ethnically Jewish atheist. Your fans are sending me hateful messages right now. Oh my God. I should have never read that last part.
What this demonstrates to me is a problem of anti-Semitism on the left that the left refuses to acknowledge or correct. But you know, Hasan got one thing right.
Not just my perspective on the matter. I'm just a, dumb idiot with a Twitch stream who is live reacting to the news and trying to make sense of everything.
In fact, I wish more figures online were as honest as Hasan is about this point. Instead, we get more of this.
I don't think there's ever been a more justified resistance in the history of humanity.
Ah, yes, resistance.
Now, obviously, I do not align politically with Hamas. That's obvious. But the reason why Hamas is the leading group of the resistance is because all the socialist and leftist groups were intentionally co-opted, assassinated, discredited by the CIA and Israel. They set up Hamas as their opposition. Now, the other thing is I've noticed is all the unnecessary lying by the Zionist wing, the Zionist online.
The Zionist online.
The idea that it was a peace festival that got attacked. That is a blatant lie. It was not a peace festival. It was a psychedelic rave that you will find everywhere around the world. It had absolutely nothing to do with calling on the Israeli government to recognize Palestinians as equal citizens. It was not anybody who was, it was rich, fail sons and fail daughters taking expensive designer drugs in the desert.
That sounds familiar to me.
It was rich, fail sons and fail daughters taking expensive designer drugs in the desert. The other lie is that there was some sort of massive gang rapes going on.
Oh.
I just think that seems like a blatant lie. I'm not saying no rapes happened.
I mean, yeah, it's not like there were eyewitnesses and people reporting hundreds of rapes and medical examiners observing corpses. And no, none of that.
Speaking of which, tell us, Hakim, you're the closest. Tell us, what the fuck is going on?
Very base things. This will be incredibly hard to do without getting bleeped or getting the stream taken down. So I'm gonna what's it called? Mind my words a little bit. TLDR, basically a unexpected operation from a united front of sorts. From Gaza.
United front of sorts.
Has launched itself into the neighboring areas, which, of course, the entire nation is Palestine. But for all intents and purposes, right now, just to make it more simple, they've attacked certain settlements in what is termed now Israel, and they've made lots of headway. They've made an impressive amount of headway. By the way, the live the amount of people watching this is the first time we've had such an amount. No. We're up to 1,450 or something.
Hey, nice. Howdy, everybody. I think that's our highest yet.
I hate all of you motherfuckers.
Hey, look.
It's okay.
It's Hasan.
You get a kiss from
Hasan's
me.
in chat.
No.
That's why.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, hey, Hasan.
All right. Hey, what up?
Hey, partner.
All right, that makes sense. Muhammad Zaman sent $5. Thank you very much. He says, did the Palestinians actually take civilian hostage, or is that fake news? I don't care.
Yeah, the occupiers
I
are
don't-
not civilians. That is what it comes down to. Like, if imagine,
French-
like if
Sorry, go on.
Germany, let's say Germany to be non-controversial, invaded the United States, and they said, you know what, Cincinnati, Ohio is our ancestral home, and everyone knows that's blatantly false, but they take your home, they murder your grandma, they bulldoze like your neighbor's house. Are those people civilians there? No, they're occupiers, and those are criminals. There are no civilians there in the illegal military occupation.
There are no civilians. Even babies, even children. Oh, it gets better.
When I was younger, I could never understand how normal, ordinary Germans could have supported, actively or passively, the Holocaust. I think I understand now.
This was retweeted by Second Thought. This is not pro-Palestine. If you attribute this as a victory for Palestinians, you are essentially saying that Hamas has Palestinian people's interests in mind. This is not true. Hamas is a terrorist organization. The last thing a Palestinian Muslim should want is to be associated with terrorists. As someone who went through this with 9/11, it made my life much harder. Hamas didn't just kill Israeli Jews in their attack. They also killed Palestinian Muslims who lived and had citizenship in Israel. Hamas are not freedom fighters. They're not even representative of the Palestinian people. They were elected in 2006 and have halted all elections since. That's almost 20 years without a single election. Anyone under the age of 35 didn't even vote them into power. They spend no money on infrastructure and sacrifice their own people for their goals. Here's the Hamas leader talking about how blood needs to run.
كما قلت وفي كل مرة أكرر إن دماء الأطفال والنساء والشيوخ لا أقول تستصرخكم بل نحن الذين نحتاج هذه الدماء لكي توقظ فينا روح الثورة لكي توقظ فينا العناد لكي توقظ فينا التحدي والسير إلى الأمام.
There was a protest from Palestinians against the Hamas-led government in July of this year, 2023. How did Mia Khalifa's freedom fighters respond? By beating them and executing several of them. Hamas is backed by Iran. Let's not forget what Iran is most well known for in recent years: the beating of Mahsa Amini for not wearing her hijab to standards. If that isn't enough for you, just a few weeks ago, another girl at the age of 16 was beaten to death for not wearing a hijab in Iran. Personally, the footage I've seen of October 7th is horrific. I'm certain for the rest of my life I'm going to have those images in my head. Medical responders and examiners have talked about various atrocities they've seen: children with their limbs chopped off, people tortured before being killed, people burned alive, pelvises broken. If I were to be completely good faith, I'd say most people don't understand the absolute horrors that occurred. And maybe they didn't even see the videos. But given that people are downright justifying and doubling down, I'm not sure what to believe anymore. And remember, these people didn't just go on Twitter. They went to the Capitol. They went to the Opera House. They went to Israeli embassies, and more.
Ask again, do you condemn Hamas?
The fact that the left is choosing to completely ignore this, or even engage in it, is really, really distressing to me. I am pro-Palestine. I have a history of being pro-Palestine. But when I see this happening, I don't think that people on the left can so easily claim to have the moral high ground anymore. When you dehumanize people, they dehumanize you in return.